NieR Automata is one of the few games I consider a masterpiece. Everything about it, from the gameplay to the story, is perfect. To this day, I still can't think of a single thing I can find fault with the experience. Automata is the second game in the NieR series created by Yoko Taro, which itself is a spin-off of his Drakengard series. The first game, NieR, was released in 2010 on the PS3 and Xbox 360 to mixed reviews and average sales. With the release of an updated version in NieR Replicant version 1.22474487.139, is it worth going back to see where it all started? The first NieR was released in two versions, NieR Replicant and NieR Gestalt, with the main difference being that in Replicant you play as a teenage boy with a younger sister named Yona, and in Gestalt you play as Yona's father. Aside from a few other minor changes, both versions have the same story and gameplay. For this updated version, they went with the brother character as you set off to find a cure for your sister who has been afflicted with a disease called the Black Scrawl. This was my first time playing NieR, and in my 30 hours with the game, there's several issues I'd like to talk about. Problem number 1. The game looks bad. And not just bad because it's an older game, the areas are either completely empty fields and deserts, or generic factories and castles made up of repeating corridors. There's some good design in the main characters, but everyone else looks like MMORPG generic town person. Problem 2. The combat is bad. The combat in the game is just mashing the 2 attack buttons against spongy enemies. It's not challenging. Even for the bullet hell enemies, because your attacks cancel out projectiles, you can just run up and mash away. I didn't die once while playing because you pick up health items literally every 2 steps. So all you have to do when your health gets a little low is to pop one and keep mashing. You do get a wide assortment of weapons, but what does wind up or attack power matter when the strategy for every encounter is just mashing? Problem number 3. The side quests are bad. There are 2 types of side quests. One is where you randomly run around an area to find a person to talk to, who then tells you to run around the same or different area until you find the next person to talk to. 90% of the other side quests are fetch quests, where you have to go to the other side of the world to find items for an NPC. While the game world isn't that big, consisting of maybe a dozen different environments, getting anywhere takes so long. You don't unlock fast travel until the second half of the game, and even that usually only drops you off close to your destination, making you run the rest of the way. Most of the side quests aren't even worth doing, as their stories are usually something like, I need 5 pumpkins. Thank you for the pumpkins. Your reward for most of the side quests is gold, which is useless and only good for buying weapons from the shops. Once you've bought all the weapons, the only thing left to buy are recovery items, which are pointless to buy as you get more than you can even hold by playing the game. So, is there anything good about this game? The story and characters are good. I love the main cast of this game. Everyone has a tragic story and are held back from getting what they want because they're so deeply flawed, and you watch them work together and grow closer as a team. The voice acting, especially from Kanye and Grimoire Weiss, is great. The concept behind the world is great. I loved all of this, but then we get to the next problem. Problem number 4. Getting to the story is bad. After beating the game the first time, you're sent back to the midpoint and have to run through the same quest, but now they've added extra dialogue and scenes that recontextualize your first playthrough. There are a few good parts that add to the story, but you're still going through the exact same fights and levels, which if you didn't like the first time, you're not going to like again. Then, after you beat the game a second time, you're again sent back to the midpoint with a text pop-up that says, "Congratulations! Now you must collect all 33 weapons to see the real ending." And I responded, "Fuck no, I won't," and then went on YouTube to watch the last 3 endings. And that was the right choice, because getting all 33 weapons requires insane grinding for random drops in the terrible side quests that I mentioned before. To find some items, you kill the same enemies over and over again, or reload a save repeatedly until an item shows up. After reloading a save 30 times to find an item I needed, I vowed never to play another side quest. To get the final true ending requires you to play through the game 5 times. This is insane and not worth it, because there's only a few extra minutes of content between the playthroughs. So, If you've never played a NieR game, should you start with Replicant?
No.
Just play Automata. And if you played Automata and loved it, should you play Replicant? If you can get Replicant on sale or borrow it, I'd say maybe check it out, but don't worry if you don't. The stories aren't really connected as they take place about 10,000 years apart, and you're not missing out on anything by not playing the first one. For me, it was an interesting experience playing Replicant to see how Yoko Taro and a different developer, Platinum Games, took every single aspect of this first NieR and made it 1,000,000 times better in Automata. I can't think of another sequel that had such a huge upgrade in quality while keeping the same feel and heart from the original. It was like getting a history lesson, and while I was playing, I was like, oh, so that's where that comes from. But a relic is still a relic. In the end, the best thing I could say is that I respect what they tried to do, and playing it made me appreciate one of my favorite games even more. I'd have to give NieR Replicant version 1.22474487.139 a 2.5 out of 5.